Hello everyone and welcome back for the final week, week 12 overview for English 1510, A1232. Couple of quick announcements here, quick reiterations. I have in the course schedule up here at the top, now the final week overview will be here. Obviously week 11 moved down to that spot there in the calendar there. I just want to remind you guys, because I did get some things from students. I had commentary here that was included in your announcements that covered the open call for submissions of late work. This one here that's still listed on this, guys, open call for submission. I did leave this until the 10th. I did get some from you guys. I really appreciate it. I got 5 students in here who not only addressed some of those things, but contacted me as well about some of the situations you were dealing with throughout the semester. And I understand, just remember folks, on communication things, one of the reasons that the communications in the course are kept with instant messaging here, and the name is listed, here on this, the beginning of the semester before the term started, that's the announcement there. It's in the syllabus. It's things that are reiterated in the first 3-4 weeks of the class several times. I remember that with policy on this, the reason it starts that way and I only moved to the other ones was because so many students have an issue contacting and saying what class they're in and all those other things. And instead, this is created as instant communication between student and professor right in the platform. Okay? And I understand now that we're coming to the end of the term, I have a couple of students in really just my strictly online async classes that have some concern or issue with communication on this. Policy is policy on this, folks, and it's not me stating I won't consider further things. Students in here who have been working with me the last 2, 3, 4 months know quite to the contrary that I will do anything I can to help you guys get through these things. Now, when I'm not getting work from you, there's little to nothing I can do. I have sent out messages in this class. I have tried to remind students of missing work. I allowed up until the 10th for a 2-week open submission window. Any students who were impacted by feedback files from software or tech, I made exceptions. I let rewrites go through. I let revisions and final work to come in after the fact. And with students who I was in contact with on a regular basis, we had no issue with those things. Okay, I have 17 students in this section right here who regularly communicated with me on instant messaging on a daily or weekly, sometimes daily basis at different times. Now, having said that, all that aside, any late work that's on there, remember that if you submitted it in one of those or you and I were still in communication or wanted to be considered for those, you still had to send me a message letting me know something was submitted late. Make sure that you've done your tutoring session. I have a number of students with the confirmation on these. I'm leaving this till the 18th to get the full confirmation on those. I got a number of you that have started forwarding, not just the one that you're required, but some additional extra credit ones too, which has been great. And I got some of those in this submission drop box. Remember, you can just put them right in here as a submission. You don't have to go through asking them to forward it to my email. It's actually easier if you just put it in this file. I did see a few of those will come forwarded through email, and one of you that actually did both. That was great. So the final week here, guys, we got a couple of things. We were finishing the outline. I had that due this evening at 11:30. There were quite a few issues here. I'm still behind schedule on putting this last video up, I realized, but there were a number of things that had to be addressed prior to this that just got away from us here at the school. And trying to get this done was giving me a few couple of bumps in the road on just loading the software again. But the research paper outline with abstract, I left it open until Wednesday. That's as far as I can extend it though, folks, because I do have to I have to absolutely be able to give some type of grade at least on there. If you have your summary and working thesis, I've already approved the topics and referred you to these. you're ready to do the outline before the primary points of support and works cited, as long as those were done correctly. I am posting the remainder of those today and tomorrow, so everyone should, prior to doing the outline, have that on primary points of support too. But folks, I don't consider it excusable that because primary points of support and works cited page might not be posted prior to doing this, that you shouldn't be able to do these. This is nothing new from what we've been doing all term, and the instructions and overviews on these parts of the assignment, they've been building from week to week, but we've covered all these basics for a month now. Like these have been in overview videos for roughly a month, and nothing's added except now this is a new template that you're completing. So again, read through the instructions on both those priors. Make sure that you understood what you're doing with your topic. You're using the peer-reviewed research only from our library databases, right? If you were going in here and you were doing media literacy or music therapy, whatever the case may be, for your topic, you were doing that as a general search, and you were making sure every single student in here was making sure to select for full text and peer reviewed and apply those filters. Once those were applied, then you were pulling sources from this database. I have some students that did this very clearly, some students who did not. When I'm grabbing sources from here, folks, I also had to reiterate with a number of you, when you're grabbing a source, if this was a viable source that you ended up using, the citation is included here. And if we're going with MLA 8th edition, I saw very few that wouldn't have the DOI on this, including articles, even some of the books and some of the videos, the documentaries. Some of you, I'm not sure. I think some of you were grabbing this as a citation when you're giving me web at the end here. It also is very problematic because, guys, the accessed on or web or print ones, it does give make cause for concern on whether or not we're doing things here that are outside the requirements of this class, including using some kind of generating software like generative AI, ChatGPT, the Grammarly functions and those things, because they will give web or accessed on, which are the outdated versions. This is MLA 8th, folks. Notice the content here and notice the DOI at the end. Please don't make this mistake on final submissions. Now, back to this. If I go back to my page here, I'm not going to click on this. I already have it downloaded for you guys. The outline is this little guy here. And again, this was what we covered last week. If you did your summary and working thesis correct, and it was marked on there, and I verified that, that becomes these two sections of this intro. You'll just need to come up with a general and specific statement, right? Then in the bodies, topic sentence. For each one of the body paragraphs, you give a topic sentence. The supporting details must include 2 quotes from peer-reviewed full-text sources. Now, I give you layout here, and also for the draft that's actually due this Sunday, coming up at the last day of class, or the 18th, I believe I allowed your class. Let's see, before I say that again. Yeah, I gave your class all the way to the 18th. Okay, good. So on that, guys, you got to the 13th to finish this outline. If you've done it already, fantastic. I'll get to the primary points of support. I don't know how many of these I'll be. I should be able to have feedback on these before you're submitting your essay, but it may be up through Saturday and Sunday and you're submitting on Monday. So just make sure you double check those things. Then on this, but I include a student example essay too and all the primary requirements on this. And remember, anything you didn't have feedback on, folks, regardless of it was prior with tech and software things, I did take all that into consideration and didn't detract further points on final submissions. Okay, now with this one, 2 quotes per body. That means that you have to follow the quote format. So for instance, giving a major support, giving the quote here, the citation that follows with the period afterwards, and using some wording like this quote demonstrates or shows. Here's a draft from a student, and this is what I'm going to go with you guys over next on that final submission. Notice that this research paper has not only a title as the heading, but it also has subheadings. I want students to use these subheadings. I won't necessarily take points away if they aren't there. But if they're not there and there's disorganization to the paper, then it's going to be a little bit difficult to follow what you're trying to include where. These are more guidelines for you and me, your reader and yourself. You want subheadings in a research paper because it shows the sections. Now you'll be moving into the next semester of writing reports, and they'll all have subheadings like this. So get accustomed to using them. Just note that they are justified to the left margin. They end in a colon, and then you go through in the first paragraph, the paragraph after each one still gets tabbed over at the top. And then when you're finished with those, I have them set up as a normal right here as opposed to a heading. You can set them as a heading for an additional function format if you want to. That would automatically make them format a certain way. If I did, I would have this one formatted as Times Roman 12, same exact font and size, but I would have it pre-formatted with bold because a subheading like this so that it stands out to my reader. What I wanted to point to you guys here too is the example of a quote being used in this first body paragraph. So if you look at, after the introduction in the first body paragraph, if we look here, one of the primary benefits of daily exercise improvement shows improvement of the mind, specifically the reduction of depression and anxiety. There's a topic sentence claim that takes us in this direction for that topic. One example of this can be seen in the correlation of self-efficacy, depression, and daily exercise. That's the claim of support of one of those examples, and now the student offers a quote right from a source to back that up. So it explains this in this. This is a very minimal one on this one, but it does the job. Then I have the last name et al. Because there was more than one author. Last name and page number. That's what we require for each one of these. Make sure you're not giving me APA citations. Should just be last name of author or et al. If there was more than one, and then or more than two, I should say, and then the page number. The terminal punctuation comes after, and notice that wording. This quote demonstrates. Now, anytime you have a quote, if you're doing this correctly, anytime you're going to be given the citation that follows. This quote shows, demonstrates, explains. I want you specifically responding to and defending the use of your own quote, right? Remember, third person objective, but you want to do this so that you're not sandwiching ideas back to back and so that you are fully offering your explanatory commentary to follow each one of those, all right? The other thing that comes at the beginning here is the abstract, which on that outline, remember, came last. On the outline, it's introduction, body 1, body 2, body 3, the conclusion paragraph, followed by the abstract. You can't write this abstract until you're done with the whole paper. You should include all these here in those categories, and again, that becomes this paragraph. And note, when you weren't allowed to use this type of wording on the introduction in that summary and working thesis, you are allowed to use this type of wording. This research shows or focuses or makes clear. This research tells the topic, you tell the topic here, right to the reader as an announcement. That is something that's acceptable in an abstract because that's what you're doing. You're telling the reader explicitly what's below and what's included and how it was done and why, right? So the main two things. This week, I moved that summary outline for the final week. I moved it to our Wednesday due date of the 13th. So that one for you guys, anybody requesting the WS grade, make sure you look through these requirements here. I understand I got 2 requests so far. You fell off, you weren't able to finish everything. Just make sure you read through this and submit me a formal request. I will consider it as long as a student has that 70% of work or around there, that I can make a reasonable consideration on that for a WS. I'd rather give you that than a failing grade. If you're not going to be able to complete the work, you know, figure out what's best for you and a reasonable timeline to pull the ripcord and make this request. I have to have them by the 17th. Otherwise, starting on the 18th, I have to start entering final grades. I have until the 20th to get them all in, I believe, 20th or 21st. One thing I added on here, though, folks, is you still have your open window for required tutoring sessions. Make sure you submit those. And then on the rhetorical analysis, if anybody wants to, I left it open for 2 of my online classes because of some of the hiccups. Just remember that if you're going to do this, it'll say rewrite on this. If you're going to do a rewrite of this, you already submitted the final, I'm going to make sure that those are posted up before the 17th as much as I can. But just note, you should have feedback already on the rough draft and the summary outline. And some of you did get that after you had already submitted the final draft. So if you want to address some of those things, I didn't take additional points away on most of those instances because I took into consideration you didn't have the feedback. But if you'd like to make the attempt, just go ahead and do a revision on that based on those If you were recommended to tutoring, make sure you do it and submit that form as well. But I'll take those up until the 18th, okay? Or the 17th. Guys, the research paper itself is due on the 18th. Let me know if you have questions. It's been a great semester, folks.